Developers. Ooh, I got my 40 of kombucha here. It's Friday. Can you hear me? Can you see me? What's going on, TGIF, in this August heat or cool, wherever you are in the world? How you doing? What's going on? Let's see if you guys can hear and see me. I have some pretty intense announcements. Today's topic is JavaScript. Why is it so freaking tough? Let's see. Where are we going here? Let me get into this control panel and I will stop blabbering. Here we go. It says I'm live. Oh, we got 9 people already on. What's up, Randy? Rogelio, hello. Paradoodly, what's going on? Okay, great. Welcome everyone to the stream. We're talking about JavaScript and the tough battle it can be for a lot of developers as their first language, even as a second language, if you're coming from a different language, whether it's C++, Python, or one of the many, even an esoteric language, coming to JavaScript, you can be like, what? So we're going to talk about what makes JavaScript so tough. We're going to talk about what makes JavaScript unique. And then, of course, because this is a community event, we're going to get your feedback in the chat. If it seems like I'm a little distracted, it's because I am. RealToughCandy.io is launching on Monday, okay? This is not just another learn to code platform. We're going to give you some skills, but it's not just skills. We're going to teach you the process. And what that means is you're going to be able to take what you learn on this platform and apply it to any given situation, whether it means coding projects, whether it means interviews, rocking your interviews, whether it means starting freelancing, whether it means learning UX, UI, and turning your designs into code, whether it means just getting just cranking out a project. We are not showing you just a skill. We're showing you the process behind it. And that is the most important thing. And that's something that over the last few years, I've seen people really struggle with, working one-on-one with people, working in groups, with mentoring, with consultations, with reviews, with all this other stuff where I'm working with developers. And so I started this platform. So let me tell you about the courses here. This little sheet will no longer be a sheet on Monday. It will be an actual site where you can sign up. Our tagline is level up, land a job, get a raise. And honestly, the only thing I'm interested in, the only thing my team is interested in is the practical application of developer skills. We're not going to teach you something just for the sake of teaching it. It's so you can take that process and that knowledge and apply it to your own situation so you can get to the next step. That is making money from a 9 to 5, making money with freelancing, with contracting, whatever. We have dozens of people already signed up. The site's not even live yet. So shout out to you all. Monday, the 24th, right at midnight, we're going to be turning on the switch. You guys can sign up for this. So here's what we have. We have monthly and yearly membership plans. Both of those plans get some extra bonuses included with your membership, or some extra perks, I should say. And if you're a yearly member, you're going to get some special things too, like yearly only courses and mini courses and stuff. So our current stable of courses is how to get a job in web development, which, as the title suggests, you're going to learn how to actually get a job in the field. Freelance newbie, so you can start freelancing, actionable practical steps. We also have professional communication for for junior developers, but RTC communication's lame. If you want to make it in this career field, you have to know how to communicate. And that's something that I just don't see taught, especially in a practical way online. So that's a really important course we have going. And then designs and deadlines, UX, UI for web developers. We're going to take some designs and actually you'll learn the process for turning that into code. So a lot of these courses, you'll see just the design phase and like, okay, have fun. But you actually learn the process of how you would take each component and put it in to a code project, and you make prototypes and mockups and wireframes in that course. And then finally, portfolio surgery, where I'm going to be showing you 5 methods for making your portfolio pop. So you're not doing this cookie cutter stuff, so you can impress employers. Developers, I've been working on this thing for a long time, and we are ready to go on Monday, and I hope you can join me. We also have a royalty-free video and HD photo library, royalty-free. You don't have to give a shout out or any type of permission notice or anything. You can just, as long as you're a member, monthly or yearly, you can use the photos however you want. You just can't, there's a few provisios. You can't resell the photos, you can't bundle them and sell them, but you can use them for projects, including for-profit projects. So if you're a freelancer, you can use them too. And there are many other perks as well, but this is not a completely self-promotional video. Just wanted to open up with that. We have a lot of people really excited about this one. I'm so excited to continue to be part of your coding journey. Thanks for having me along. Just aiming for providing you an amazing experience on this platform so you can level up, land a job, and get a raise. It's for coders, but it's not a coding platform. I'm only interested in the practical application of your skills. So that's that. How's everybody doing beside from that? Let me take a swig of this 48-ounce kombucha. Is there a Chiquito in the chat? He's the one who provided me this. Thanks, Chiquito. It's delicious. Today's topic, why is JavaScript so freaking hard? Invariably in chat rooms, Reddit, where else, other blogs with comment sections, even YouTube videos, you always have that one person. JavaScript isn't that hard. Like, it was, I learned it in my sleep practically. They might actually be telling the truth. There are people out there who find JavaScript incredibly easy. I wish I had their life. For most of us, especially self-taught software developers, JavaScript is very difficult. Why is that? Well, we're going to go to the chat today. We're going to go to the live chat and get some of your feedback with that. And what's interesting to me is that if you ask a newer set of developers what is so hard about JavaScript, the collection of answers is different when you talk to mid-level, and the collection of answers is different when you talk to seniors. So I find that process and that shift, once you start leveling up and advancing in your career, very interesting. For example, a lot of new developers will say, well, JavaScript, sometimes they'll because they don't yet have that entire vocabulary to use, they'll say things like, well, I just don't get it. A perfectly valid answer. But what they find out is that it's a bunch of things. So once they get that vocabulary, they can more easily articulate it. So what do I mean? Prototypes, prototype-based object-oriented programming. Prototypes are tough. When you haven't been exposed to object-oriented programming or any other type of programming paradigm, prototypes in JavaScript and fitting it in with OOP is difficult. Also, some of the primitive data types in JavaScript are a little funky with some of their operations. What else? There's a list of technical things, but then there's like a big thing, this big chunk of a thing that's not, it has less to do with the implementation and more of the, I just don't get it part. And so I think for me, the hardest thing about learning JavaScript in the beginning was that I came from languages that weren't programming languages. So rather than it being, well, I just don't get this prototype thing, which I didn't, to be fair, but the bigger problem was I didn't understand, I didn't have an incremental hike up to a programming language. So it's HTML, markup language, CSS, which is a style sheet, cascading style sheet. And then it's like, okay, here is a programming language, a scripting language, but a programming language for all intents and purposes. It's programming. You're using conditional logic. You're using all these programming principles. And to make that shift, it's hard to pivot as a new developer and to try and to go from HTML and CSS where you're feeling, and this is the thing too. This was the thing that is a psychological thing where it's like, okay, I'm feeling good about HTML and CSS. I made these static landing pages. I made these forms and these things that just look beautiful. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. I'm ready for JavaScript. And then you start it And it's like, oh, there's a lot more to this than I thought. So, and I think the JavaScript portion is where a lot of the imposter syndrome comes in and people questioning their abilities. When in reality, JavaScript is just a tough language. Programming is tough. And HTML and CSS is a nice, it's such a friendly way to get you up and going with manipulating code that I think it is a good introduction to coding. But then invariably, you have to deal with conditional logic and all these other things that come with a programming language. Not to mention the theoreticals that eventually you'll learn, or at least hear of, like the execution stack and some of these more, I don't know what the word might be, esoteric. It's not esoteric, but some of the more theoretical things that you just don't read about in something like Mark Myers's A Smarter Way to Learn JavaScript. Like, he doesn't talk about the theoretical. It's like, here's a page, go build some arrays. And so that transition, I think that pivoting is so hard for developers, and especially as your first language. If you're a 100% self-taught developer and JavaScript is your first language, it is an uphill battle for most people. Again, there are that small collection of people who say, man, JavaScript's the easiest thing ever. I don't know why these people are being silly. Just read like more medium.com articles on prototypes. You'll be fine. Let me go through a few books though. I have quite a collection here of JavaScript books. Some of them may look familiar. Some of them may be new to you. And I think that's another thing too, is that once you start learning how to program, you quickly realize it is an endless black hole, a rabbit hole, and also a black hole of doom, because there's no turning back. It's infinite. It's infinite. And I think with HTML and CSS, if you're coming from that background and transitioning into a programming language, transitioning into JavaScript, now it's a language, now it's something you're dealing with that isn't quite as tangible. Because with HTML and CSS, your results are instantaneous and you see them. They're a visual thing. JavaScript is more behind the scenes for a lot of this stuff, especially when it comes to, I mean, and that's not even talking about runtimes like Node. Let's go to the comments. Let's see who all is here. I didn't do a roll call. How's everyone doing? Whoa, whoa, we got some super chat. Whoa, developers, what the heck? We got some super chats here. Okay, let me address those in just a sec. First of all, I have a lot of people here. This is awesome. I had no idea. Holy smokes. We got to give a shout out to Thursday Cool, Randy Miller, Rogelio, Paradoodly, our awesome mod, Shanazwaz, hello, Luis, Matt, Ayub, Draco, Patrick, Paradeep, who else? Donovan. What's up, Donovan? Dana and Jax, and Donovan, the back-to-back YouTube channel members dropping in. Braden, Z.O., Ben Riley, William Claybrook, Arthur, Mr. DeCobra, Candace. Hey, man, look at all these YouTube channel members. This is awesome. Welcome, Dr. Candace, to the live chat. Z.O., One Godless Monkey, Main Street Studio. Hello, hello. Beverly 2J Austin, what's up? Tom Wala, hello. And Gary. Okay, a lot of comments here, great. So that is my introductory spiel on JavaScript. Let's go through some of these books. I may come back and touch upon them. I may not. Let's see. So this brings back memories. It's dusty and it's dingy. But this is pretty much what started it all for me. Can you guys see that? A Smarter Way to Learn JavaScript by Mark Myers. I still recommend this book. Okay, you're not going to learn ES6. This is one of the few exceptions where I'm like, you know, he doesn't talk about the modern stuff, but that's okay. It's one of the only books and only resources. Well, I will say this book is 5 years old, and that's okay. A Smarter Way to Learn JavaScript. This book was absolutely life-changing. Look at all this social proof. It's one of the very few resources I have seen that is not only popular, but absolutely loved by new coders. I mean, just wall-to-wall 5-star reviews. When I saw all the reviews on Amazon, I was like, did he pay for this stuff? No, these are people whose lives were changed by this book. And what is so brilliant about this book? Anyone trying to get into coding education needs to get a hold of this book, because he does what a lot of people don't do, and he keeps it simple. Because again, programming is infinite, and it's so tempting to just throw everything out there and say, you know, object-oriented programming isn't good enough. We have to talk about functional programming too. Functional programming is important. Yes, but so is context. And these people are newbies. Keep it newbie friendly. And this guy completely just nailed it with that. Each lesson is a page. You're going to learn tables. You're going to learn the basics. Tables, what am I thinking? That's the HTML and CSS book. You're going to learn the basics like functions, methods. I think he might even talk about prototypes in here, honestly. He does. He talks about prototypes in one segment. But if and else statements, concatenation, all the basics in a truly digestible format. Now, this is a great start. I recommend this book to anyone starting out. Now, the problem is this is just scratching the surface. And this book, for new people, it's going to take you weeks and maybe months. And so it can get so dejecting. And that's just, another tally in JavaScript being tough, because it's not a 1-week thing. Whereas HTML and CSS, it is like comparing apples and oranges in some regards. But I think the comparison is warranted, because we do lump HTML, CSS, and JavaScript as this 3-in-1 package when we're selling the idea of learning how to code. Not selling, but when we're suggesting or talking about the idea of learning how to code. Someone comes up to you and says, hey, I'm totally new. What are the main things I need to learn to become a front-end developer? Well, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, of course, and a framework once you get there. But that trio is so intertwined that the comparisons are almost, you can't help but compare. Anyways, I don't know where I was going with that, but this is scratching the surface just a little bit. Oh, that's what it was. So, learning more is going to take you months and months, and that can be so discouraging. And that, like I said, just put it in the box of just tallying up why JavaScript is so difficult for so many people. Now, I don't want to make this live stream all doom and gloom, because there is an exit point. There are many exit points, and you as a developer need to make that choice of when you want to progress, or when you feel like, okay, I'm ready to progress to the next step. You can always come back. What I mean by that is, if you are learning JavaScript and you think, you know what, I think I'm good to go start learning a framework, just try it. There's a good chance eventually you're going to code yourself into a corner. It sucks when it happens, but it's totally okay. It happens to everyone. Just back out, because at this point, this is your coding journey. This is your journey, and you control it. So you're not stuck in that corner. You can back out and go back to the spot you were at and keep building on that. One other course, there is an amazing course on Udemy. This is like the theoretical edition of A Smarter Way to Learn JavaScript. Let me grab this. This course on Udemy is called JavaScript Understanding the Weird Parts. To me, it's a really intellectual version of the theoreticals of JavaScript. I would say start with this if you're new, and then put that course in your cart. I think Udemy's doing one of their endless $9.99 sales throughout the end of this month. For $10, put it in your freaking cart and go to the checkout process, because Anthony Alicea, JavaScript Understanding the Weird Parts. Amazing course. My brain hurts so much. I've done that course multiple times, always picking up some new stuff. And that's where the theoreticals come in. And that's where it's like you learn things, and you learn some truly more esoteric things, like currying and binds and some of these other methods. just phenomenal. And that's one of the other ones that hasn't been updated in like 6 years. Only course on Udemy where I'll say it's okay, because the theoreticals don't change. They will always be the same. So definitely check that one out. So let's go through. Okay. So I have this collection of books, right? This is not even cracking the surface of what I own on JavaScript. Just a few diverse resources, I guess you could say, in the book world when it comes to JavaScript. These are all pretty different books. We have Refactoring JavaScript. I'll say this one for just a sec. So maybe you guys are familiar with these. Up and Going from the You Don't Know a JS series by Kyle Simpson. Kyle Simpson is a true JavaScript guru. And he is an evangelist. He loves, I don't know if he loves it, but he gives the impression that he loves JavaScript. And it's funny because he is a defender of JavaScript. You know, and there aren't many people who will defend JavaScript like the way he does. And his argument, reading through some of these books, and this is what's so brilliant with the marketing department of these books, they're really thin. So he has like 6 or 7 of these in the series, and they're $10 each. Good marketing, O'Reilly, not bad. So these are on O'Reilly, great book publisher. And Up and Going is pretty much the one. It's pretty much a pre-JavaScript book about JavaScript, just getting you familiar with what it is. Some of the, I mean, it's a really short book. It's 50 some pages, 60, probably like 70 pages of actual information, and they're pretty small pages. But it just gets you up, as the title suggests, gets you up and going. But he says, and I think it might have been in this book, he talks about how JavaScript doesn't have a problem. It's people who have a problem with JavaScript. And I'm like, that's an interesting perspective, because I do have a problem with JavaScript. Not to mention, and here's a fun JavaScript tidbit. JavaScript was developed in 10 days. Paradoodly-doo, can you fact check me on that? It was definitely less than 2 weeks. And so because of that hastily written status, we're dealing with some of its charming bugs decades later. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to go through all of these books, but here's one example. Object-oriented JavaScript. This is an older book. I think there's a newer version, but basically just telling you how OOP in JavaScript works with prototypes. Huge book. These books are not meant to be read front to back, with the exception of maybe these, but they're great references. And it can be tempting too. This is the thing. This is another, what makes JavaScript tough, checkmark, is that the resources are absolutely unending. Like I said, this is just a small slice of my book collection with JavaScript. And there, I mean, if you go to Udemy and type in JavaScript, I think there's like 10,000 results. It's really disturbing. So there's, as a self-taught developer, there's this pressure, like, how do you know which one to choose? And then also too, did you choose the right one once you chose? Developers, listen, I have some super chats I need to address. You guys are simply amazing. Ben Riley, Ben, I haven't seen you in ages. How have you been? How have you been? You asked me a question. You asked me a question about coding like 5 months ago, and I don't remember what it was, but I ended the live stream as soon as you super chatted me. So I apologize for that. Ben says, because, oh, here we go. Because JavaScript was made in 11 days and it shows. Why I love Python and tolerate JS. That segment resonates with me. I love Python too, Ben. It's my favorite language. JavaScript is the Dick Cheney of coding languages for me. Ben, thanks for the super chat. William Claybrook says, when do you want us to sign up? Where do you want to sign up? I just can't wait. I'm so proud of you for this. William, thank you so much. I really appreciate that comment. And I don't want these videos to turn into, you know, this 1 hour thing of being like, yeah, sign up for my platform. It's really awesome. But I do want you to sign up for my platform because I do think it's really awesome. And I know it's going to help thousands of developers actually get to the next spot. Get to the next spot where they need to be. And one of the things that I was very intentional with this platform is that I wanted to be in a unique space so that I wasn't competing with other instructors. And let's be honest, the world doesn't need another intro to JavaScript course. There are some really great ones. The world doesn't need another coding bootcamp. There are some really great ones. The world doesn't need another HTML and CSS crash course. There are some really great ones. So finding my space while providing a metric crap ton of value for students was my priority. So thank you. And so so Sunday night going into Monday morning at midnight, we're going to be flipping the switch on RealToughCandy.io. And from there, you can browse the courses, browse the plans. You can also buy the courses a la carte. It's a one-time purchase for life if memberships aren't your thing. So there you can, you know, like I said, check out the courses, check out the memberships. You can pay there, get enrolled, and all that stuff. So that will be available in a few short dozen hours. Donovan, and thanks for the super chat, by the way, William. Donovan, one of my VIPs, Donovan has been with this channel for over 3 years. Looking forward to the RTC platform. Thanks, Donovan. I am too. As is evidenced. Paradoodly-doo says, cheers to RealToughCandy.io. Para, very kind of you. Paradoodly-doo is our moderator extraordinaire in the chat today. She's also our one of our mods in the Discord. Thanks for the encouragement. And Ben Riley following up with another $5 super chat. Thanks, Ben. OOP is great in Python. This.x rough. Yeah, that's another thing. Let me finish out this comment. I found learning how to make games in JavaScript helped me a lot. Good comment. Thank you for that comment, and thanks for the super chat. Yes, that is just going back to the thing talking about implementation. The this keyword, or maybe this is more geared towards like syntax stuff, but whatever it is, the this keyword, this is the funniest thing, the funniest explanation, and it really just sums up some of the ridiculous components of JavaScript. The funniest definition of this I've ever heard was on Fun Functions channel, MPJ. He said, the definition of this is the thing that it's referring to. Like, wait, what? This is the thing that it refers to. Like, if you know, this is the other thing that makes JavaScript tough. If you're watching a lot of these videos, it's almost like you have to preload your brain with these concepts before you go in and watch the video. Because if you didn't know what this was, that statement would make no sense. But if you know what this is, he said, what was, I wish I knew it like verbatim. This is referring to the thing it refers to. I think that's what the definition was. This is referring to the thing it refers to. So if you came into that statement and came into that video, came into that context, knowing what this was, you'd be like, yeah, that's kind of funny because it's kind of right. But if you don't know what this is, that just makes things a lot worse. And I think it would be so awesome to have like an Explain Like I'm 5, maybe a less condescending title, but just like a basic plain English Mark Myers style book where these definitions are spelled out with examples, multiple examples, links to code snippets, or just maybe just right in the book, and as plain as possible explanations of what these things are. Because defining this as referring to the thing it's referring to ain't gonna work for people who don't know what that is. But interesting, yeah, that comment reminded me of that. This.x rough. Yeah. Dang, Ben Riley just popping the super chats left and right. Thank you, sir. Says, I got a new job as an RPA developer, so I've been working with C#. But I think my question was about Cold Fusion. You remember that? Was it Cold Fusion and government stuff? That is so funny. Yeah, maybe it was about Cold Fusion. Did you? Yeah, you may have asked if I've used Cold Fusion or something. I haven't, but I continue to see some job listings, many job listings in the Midwest that are asking for some Cold Fusion, some CFA. Is that that's the acronym? Some Cold Fusion action when it comes to that. Drama Fan 08, Solid Snake J Beats, what's up? JTO 0914, what's going on? Candace, Dr. Candace with the super chat. Insert shut up and take my money meme for RTC.io. Thanks, Candace. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, again, don't want to monopolize this stream with self-promotion, but it's the biggest thing in my life going on. And just the intention behind the platform is so exciting for me because it, like I said multiple times throughout this stream, my only interest is in sharing practical, actionable material with you and education that you can use. And like I said, I built out this special space for me where I'm not doing intro to JavaScript. I'm not doing HTML and CS, learn HTML and CSS. We have some amazing courses. The world doesn't need any more of those. So I'm teaching you, I'm showing developers the process to level up, land a job, and get a raise. And take that process and to apply it in contexts that matter to you. How many times have you done a project as a newbie, or maybe not as a newbie, where you're typing, you're coding it, you're following along, and then outside of that course, you go and try and build something, and you're just like, wow, I have no idea where to start. That's where RealToughCandy.io comes in, because we show you how to start, we show you where to start, and then we show you what to do after that. I just, so excited. So thanks, Candace, again for the shut up and take my money meme. Appreciate it. Whoa, Ben Riley. I treated this in JavaScript like self in Python. You know, I'm so glad you brought up Python, because Python is not only an amazing language, and it's too bad it has limited applicability in web development. If Python was the de facto standard for web development, I would just be like taking vacations in Bermuda just to celebrate that fact. Python is an amazing language. And that was the second language I fully learned, not fully, but you know what I mean? You know how you try to start learning languages, a couple of days later, you're like, yeah, this isn't working. So I started off learning Java. And then that was one of the languages where I said, yeah, this isn't working. So the JavaScript language, the language that I did learn where I could actually do things with, was JavaScript. And then after that, I started learning Python. Amazing, night and day difference. It's just, I talk about it darn near on every live stream, how amazing Python is. And it's tough because I do want to share how great it is, but I also know that time is precious. And for the typical software developer, aspiring developer, to drop everything and go learn Python is just not a good use of time for most people, unless you're looking for a Django job or I don't know, Flask or something as a developer. As a web developer, I should clarify. Sorry. I just can't stop drinking that kombucha. Is Chiquito here or what? Go Price Go, excuse me, Go Price Go, where have you been? Go Price Go says, I'm jealous, RTC. I'm not a big reader. The next book I read will be the first. See, this is the sassy insight I miss from you, GPG. I mean, maybe you have been leaving comments and stuff. I haven't been on top of it, perhaps. Let's see. Edward says, nice to see you streaming. I'm glad I got a chance to watch some of it. Thanks, Edward. Yeah, last week there was not a live stream. I was busy with the platform, but making up for it today. Let's see these comments. We have a ton of comments. The chat is lit up right now. We have 80 people. I want to say, if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is the Fish Fry Friday, where we talk about whatever topic. Last night, I was thinking, you know, we need to have a discussion about why JavaScript is tough, because there's a lot. There's just so much JavaScript out there. I shudder to think what Google will how many results Google will return when you just Google JavaScript. And I'm very jealous of the first result of whoever is ranking #1 for that word, because they're probably very rich. Let's see. There's a lot of comments here. Drama Fan 08 says, I'm in a boot camp and it's awful. We're learning React now. I'm sorry to hear that, Drama Fan 08. What let's see. Okay, I was going to ask you what you don't like about it, but here you say, I'm not doing well, not getting the support I need. We just had one decent instructor. They told us that the stuff before doesn't matter now. Just focus on React now. Wow. J Beats and Waves. What are you on the street team for Coding Phase? All J Beats says go check out Coding Phase. Coding Phase, yes, Coding Phase was a big influence with my channel, and he talks. I wish he would do more videos. Honestly, he has so much insight to share, and I wish he would do more videos. Let's go to Hingle McCringle. I know it's weird, but I've been learning Dart since I hit a wall with JavaScript. It's actually helping me understand JavaScript more since Dart is more opinionated. Interesting. Dart, you hit a wall with JavaScript and you picked up Dart. Interesting. Yeah, and that's a good point too. Once I started learning Python, the things in JavaScript more lights started going off with my relationship with JavaScript, if that makes sense. So there are certain things that Python does really well that JavaScript kind of doesn't. And so when a language doesn't do something well, there's usually one of two emotions or one of two actions: totally ignoring it or completely hating it because you're forced to work with it. So with JavaScript, a lot of the stuff I didn't understand or that JavaScript was not the greatest at, I would just ignore and just try and do workarounds or just try different projects and stuff. But once I started learning Python and even PHP to some degree, I would come back and revisit these things that were tough for me or that were just a little, I don't know, the cantankerous parts of JavaScript. And it would be just a little more illuminated. And I think also that just comes with being a developer. As you continue to grow, it does get easier. That's what's great about it too, is that I know for a lot of people, it's so frustrating because it's like, I mean, I was there too, where you think, when does this end? Well, the bad news is it doesn't end. It is it just goes on forever. The good news is it gets easier. And the good news is eventually you will be able to take your knowledge, apply it, and do things with it so that you can make a career out of it, or make your career even better. But yeah, that's an interesting comment about Dart. That's one of those things I really haven't fussed with at all. I mean, I probably read the docs for a few minutes, if that, but I have never actually interacted with it in a meaningful way. But going to that second language or even a third, just there's a lot of factors at play because you're growing as a developer, you're doing new things, so things are getting easier. You're also learning new concepts in different contexts. So arrays in Python, weirdly, even though you're doing arrays just in Python, they strengthen your JavaScript skills because they're also strengthening your programming skills. JavaScript is just a language. That's my mantra when I get overwhelmed with JS stuff. It's just a language. It's just a tool. It's just a tool to get me where I want my project to go. That's all it is. Let's see. Solid Snake says, RealToughCandy, are you still learning permanently? Yes, of course, every day. Or are you only working as a recruiter? No, I'm not a recruiter. I'm a recruiter for RealToughCandy.io, but that's about it. Let's see. Main Street Studio says, I have a guest. My high guest said, he said hi from the office. Are you at work right now, Main Street? Hello, guest at Main Street Studio's office. Candace says learning Python was like a breath of fresh air coming from a Java background. Candace, I only tried learning JavaScript for a few brief weeks, and I just don't, I can't imagine learning it on my own, like to the point where I could build something of any importance. Like that, it was very difficult. I was taking a Coursera course. So this is like the encapsulated brief version of my coding journey. So like I decided I wanted to be a part of the software industry, had no idea where to start, right? No idea. So I said, well, this was my thinking. I said, JavaScript seems to be too popular for me, for my liking, because I'm more of like the alternative type. keep it on the underground, on the hush hush. Like, I don't like a lot of pomp and circumstance and hype. So, and I was just seeing JavaScript everywhere. So I said, okay, well, let's try Java. So I tried Java with this Coursera course, and everything was going great until we got to this section on, steganography. It ruined me. It ruined my life. And I said, I cannot. And so at that point, I was totally just against the wall. I went to a Women Who Code meetup. That was one of my first meetups, and I got some help there. And they're like, this is from an introductory course. I'm like, yeah. So that meetup opened my eyes to web development and more of those technologies. But trying to learn Java, I will say though, even though JavaScript was and is tough for me, yeah, a lot easier to digest than Java. But now that I'm more growing, and then I am growing in my career, and I am, where I am, there are some things in Java I can really appreciate. But back then, it's just like, this is a bunch of junk. Let's see. Somebody here mentioned TypeScript. And that is one of the saving graces of JavaScript, in my opinion. TypeScript fixes a lot of the big problems with JavaScript. And as we're talking about the subject of JavaScript being tough, TypeScript does make it easier, but it's also tough because it's another thing you have to learn in order to make JavaScript tolerable. So it is a double-edged sword. I mean, I endorse TypeScript. It just compensates for the inherent problems we have in a hastily written language, where a lot of things just don't make any sense. But it's again going back to that time investment thing, and how much is your time worth, and the opportunity cost. Because as a new developer, it's like, okay, do I want to learn yet another skill, or should I just apply the skills that I do have? Should I go learn TypeScript? It's tough. It's tough to make a blanket statement on that. But as far as like in the field, in the operative software development industry, yes, TypeScript has been a lifesaver in many instances. Go Price Ghost said something about trucking around the country. Let me see. What the heck? Yeah, because you're in trucking, right, GPG? I didn't know you're still in the industry. I was wondering what happened to you. I'm glad to see you trucking around the country. Well, I hope you're making the money. I hope you're getting checks written to you at least. Where is these? Okay. Go Price Go says, I try to treat JavaScript like a queen. But when I hit enter, JavaScript looks at me and says, what are you talking about? AKA an error. Caddy Meyer Art says, was React the first JavaScript framework you learned? Yes, Danielle Bloom is here. Danielle, I have some awesome news for you. Don't log off the chat. Do not log off the chat, okay? I have something to share with you that's going to make your day. It's going to make your weekend. I learned the MERN stack. That was my first de facto stack I learned. I also learned the LAMP stack. But React was the first. Yes, technically it's a library, but it was the first framework I learned. And I thought it was really cool, but I never used it. I didn't use it in enterprise development, and I don't really think I've used it ever for like a for-profit venture, even though a lot of other people do. It's mostly for me. When I was in enterprise, we used pretty much everything but, and freelancing. I don't dabble much with React, but man, with all the React community is absolutely top notch. That is one thing. So I know I've been like detailing the problems with JavaScript the past hour, but one of the most amazing things about JavaScript and all its related libraries and frameworks and paths is the documentation and the community. It's freaking awesome. Have you seen PHP's documentation? It sucks. Sorry. And I want to be a big time PHP supporter. And it is a great skill. but the learning resources, the community, and PHP does have a pretty good community, but when you compare those things to JavaScript, like JavaScript dominates when it comes to those things. And that's what makes it bearable. If JavaScript had the problems it has and had a terrible community, I would go do iOS stuff. I would not nearly be as excited about web development if the community was trash or if the documentation was trash. Do you know how lucky we are to have the Mozilla docs? They're freaking amazing. They're clean, they're up to date, they're expansive, they're exhaustive. There are great examples of how to implement some of the concepts. Just what a great resource, and it's totally free. And that goes like also too, going back to the education thing, we have way too many blog posts about JavaScript. How do you know which one to read? Which one is going to be of relevance to your coding journey? We have just, it's an onslaught of resources. But for a lot of people, that's an awesome thing because they can pick and choose the variety makes it more competitive. So yes, it stinks that we do have so many to choose from, but it's also really nice because if we didn't have this community, if we didn't have this competition, we wouldn't have awesome online coding boot camps for $10 or $500. I mean, some of these courses are expensive, but it's where you get afterward, where you have to assess that value. Like, okay, I have a job now paying 6 figures. Like, I think that $500 was probably a good investment. Let's go to these comments. Whoa, Lowland Joe. Hey, new member, Lowland Joe. Welcome to Java Suite. I haven't done this during the live stream yet. Lowland Joe, welcome to Java Suite. Thank you for your support, my friend. I appreciate it. Danielle. Okay, Danielle, you're still here. Listen, this is Danielle Bloom, right? I hope the Danielle I'm seeing in the chat. No, that's not the Danielle I'm looking for. The Danielle I'm looking for spells her name D-A-N-A. Danielle. I'm so embarrassed. I'm looking for Danielle Bloom. Is there a Danielle Bloom in the chat? Please, you were the winner of the 3-month educative random me closing my eyes and picking at a name. You were the random winner of that 3 months free educative subscription. Please get a hold of me. I don't know where you are. I've been desperately trying to contact you because I really want to give you your prize. And now I feel like a jerk because it's the wrong Danielle. Let's see. Danielle, I know I am excited that you're here. I really am. And I'm totally sorry for the mistaken identity. I don't have a lot of Danielles in the chat and you're the second one. I mean, it's just, man, Danielle, what? Will the real Danielle please stand up? Okay, Danielle Bloom is here. Hey, I have a 3-month educative subscription for you, as I just got done saying. I'm totally verklempt. I'm totally verklempt, but if you could email me at realtoughcandy@gmail.com, I will hook you up with that 3-month educative subscription. Okay, I'm so sorry for the confusion. We have multiple Danielles in the chat. I'm very honored that we have more than one. And Danielle 1, I apologize for the mistaken identity. A. Samarov says, I want to switch my tech support career to front-end web development. Thank you for sharing your insights. Your channel helped me to choose what to learn and what to do. That's great. Tech support is one of those things. Tech support is a great launch pad to a career in development. We did a live stream a couple months back talking about like 5 adjacent careers or like stepping stone careers where you can get into development and software. Tech support is one of them because just having that proximity to a computer where you're doing things, where you're not a consumer, but you're I don't want to say engineering because we really overuse that word, but where you're working. There's a different mindset and there's a different process going on with that. Whereas if you weren't in tech support and you were on a computer for 12 hours a day just clicking, then you're not really advancing your mind with the problem solving process using a computer. But yeah, I'm excited. That's great to hear. I hope you love it. Front end web development, huh? Cool. Ben Riley says, that was an intense drama. Yeah, I know. Danielle 1 says, that's okay, RTC. I still love you. I appreciate that, Danielle. Man, I got to change topics real quick here and try and save face. Solid Snake says, RTC, can we say bye-bye to PHP once Facebook changes its backend technology? No. Some people wish, but we cannot. We cannot. And that is, I'm talking into this glass and it sounds really reverberalicious. Facebook. I was going to say Facebook powers 1/3 of the internet, which is probably true. Facebook power. I'm so brainwashed. Facebook powers 1/3 of the internet. PHP powers over 1/3 of the web. Granted, many of those sites are probably just tribute pages and things of personal nature. However, that's a number that cannot just be squashed overnight. PHP, I mean, it powers so many web apps, not just, tribute pages or old legacy blogs from WordPress version 0.0. Like, lots of things are being built in PHP. PHP 8 is coming out in November. That's really exciting. We now have things like Laravel. And comparing it to JavaScript, JavaScript has the bells and whistles and it has those flashy things, but PHP is no snooze. It's nothing to sleep on. It's nothing to snooze on. I just wish there was a more, I think PHP just needs like a better public relations manager, and to really get the hype going, like it needs someone like a Colt Steele. It needs someone to be, no instructor wants to touch it. No instructor of VIP status wants to touch it, and it's just too darn bad. And because of that, I mean, maybe they're following the trends. Maybe they don't want to touch it for whatever reason. I don't know. But, considering how many web developer jobs have PHP as a requirement where you're working on PHP every day, I just don't see how it can be so dismissed. So that is something I've been thinking about with the platform on RealToughCandy.io. We're going to be releasing our course menu here in the next couple of weeks for the next year. So there aren't any surprises. We're going to be releasing courses every 4 months, so you can know what to expect, kind of like a school lunch menu. And you may say, oh, I don't like Italian dunkers. I will pack my own lunch or just totally bypass it. So this kind of the same concept. If you like something, you'll know in 6 months it's going to be up. If you don't like it, you can know, okay, I think I'll bypass that one. But just, man, it's been a career-long struggle for me working with developers and also working on things myself, and either not having the resource, having an outdated resource, and not being able to recommend some just solid resources to developers wanting to learn or expand their PHP skill set. There's apparently John Duckett's book coming out. He's been pushing, the publisher's been pushing it back for, I think, at least 2 years. They're killing me with that thing, but it's a PHP and MySQL book. And I would love that to be a smash hit. We need to get back to the LAMP stack, in my opinion. Donovan, if you're still here, I know Donovan has a place in his heart for the LAMP stack. And so do many other developers. It's a great stack, but just not as cute and cuddly as these modern mean stacks, MERN stacks, PERN stacks, which paradoodly, can you pop the UX UI link? I made a promo video where I referenced the MERN stack, the mean stack, the LAMP stack, GraphQL. I made a promo video for my UX UI course. It's unlisted, so you people in the chat will be some of the first people to see it. Paradoodly, pop that promo if you would. Caddy Meyer Art says, since when have you been learning JavaScript? 2015. 5 years. 5 years. Now, when I was first, I'm a self-taught developer, so the first year I was learning it was really intense. If I'd say probably the first 2 years, geez, the first 3 years. I really started getting into it around 2016, 2017. So I'm not, and at that time I was put the first year and a half of learning, I was putting in 4 to 6 to 8 hours a day with that stuff, not just JavaScript, but with everything, HTML, CSS, theoretical stuff. Nowadays, I try to do a couple hours a week of training. I give my employee that I currently pay, who's does some of the coding stuff, that person gets paid training to learn JavaScript, because I think it is so important just to keep up. So I'm modeling myself after like what Google does or what some of these other companies do, where they say, okay, on Fridays, yes, you're on a salary, we're paying you to do this, but we want you to continue your skills and continue your education with whatever you enjoy as far as coding. So they can work on personal projects, they can take courses or whatever. So nowadays for me, I try to do a couple hours a week, whether it's reading, personal projects. I don't have a lot of time for huge personal projects these days, but I do like reading a lot. And that's where some of these books come in. This is a relative newcomer to the RTC headquarter library. This is an awesome book. This is by the one and only Martin Fowler, Refactoring, Improving the Design of Existing Code. So this is more of the stuff that I'm working on these days, is not learning the fundamentals, because I did that in the beginning, but now building on those with a little more finesse. And so one of those things that can help you finesse your code is refactoring in a maintainable way, in a smart way. And this is one of those books. What's great about the second edition is that the samples are written in JavaScript. Awesome book. This is a little pricier book. This is a de facto college Pearson, Addison Wesley status book. And it's not for the faint of heart. It's not something you want to read front to back in one sitting. But this is the kind of stuff where I am doing training nowadays. So yeah, and that's important to most people who are in, you have to keep current. You have to build your skills. You have to maintain relevancy. That goes for this career field. That goes for anything that involves the computer in 2020, going into 2021 and beyond. Like, you got to keep current or you will be replaced. It's depressing, but especially in this career field, you have to keep up to date with stuff. Developers, I'm going to go to the comments. Sorry, it's ginger and it has kind of a bite. We have, hey, I need to ask you a favor. If you've been enjoying hanging out today, do me a favor and just hit that thumbs up button real quick. Show YouTube that you care, so we can come back next week and have another awesome, fun, interactive live stream and hang out with the peeps. Let's see. Patrick Johnson, what's up? And again, welcome new members and not only YouTube channel members, which we had a new one today in the chat, but if you're just tuning in and new to the channel, I'm RTC. I am a self-taught software developer. Everyone is self-taught, even if they went to college or coding bootcamp, but I didn't go to college for coding and I didn't go to a bootcamp. So in that sense, I am self-taught. And we talk about software. We talk about software development, largely web development. Sometimes we delve into other things, but by and large, it's the web that we discuss here and everything related to it. So welcome. I want to give a shout out to Paradoodly Doo for holding it down. Eugene, how's it going? Your average programmer says, why does John Duckett keep pushing his PHP book back? I don't want it anymore. I know, right? I felt like that way 2 years ago. It's just like a parent like teasing you with like, okay, go mow the lawn and we can go out for ice cream. It's like, oh, now you have to go do the weeds and we can go out for, now you have to go clean your room. It's like, listen, you promised me we could go out for ice cream after I mowed the lawn. John Duckett's publisher is acting like a parent who reneges on their promises. I want this book, but it's just like, you know what? The ship has sailed. It's 2 years too late. I completely get that comment. Yes. I know. What are your thoughts? Armand says, what are your thoughts on Electron JS for class platform? I cannot speak today. Cross-platform desktop apps. Got any experiences to share? Yes, Electron. I've had good experiences with Electron. I haven't used it in my own business, but I have used it when I was in enterprise. I really can't go further than that, other than say it was a good experience. And if you're looking to, because there's stuff like PhoneGap, there are other platforms and products that compete with Electron, but Electron's pretty legit. Let's see. What am I drinking? Caddy Meyer Art says, what am I drinking? I'm drinking the one and only 48-ounce GT's kombucha Gingerade, courtesy of my friend Chiquito, who donated kombucha money so I can not be parched during the live stream. GPG says, gotta hit the road, RTC. You stay vintage. You're one of a kind. My notifications are on now. My bad. Hey, stay safe. Stay safe on the road. Go, Price, go. It's crazy out there. Hope to see you soon. Candace Leach says, this is a great hangout spot. I certainly think so too. I've been rambling for like an hour, which clearly states my intentions of wanting to hang out. And I'm the person at the party who's kind of nervous and won't stop talking about themselves or their pet cat. Yeah, and just rambling because these awkward, it's such an interesting thing, chatting with people, interacting with people who type rather than, could you imagine if there are 80 people on voice chat right now during this live stream? It would be a party. It would be too crazy, but that could be fun. Solid Snake says, RTC, can you tell us what you're learning right now as an advanced dev? Sure. Like I mentioned earlier, I try to do a couple hours a week, not just with JavaScript. That is a big focus of mine because as this live stream title suggests, JavaScript is tough for a lot of people, and myself included. I've done videos on it previously. I mean, over the years, just how it is that language that just, it's not an easy language for me, even though, I did learn the fundamentals. I do know I do know programming principles, but there are a lot of gotchas. And it's just, here's the thing. A programming language becomes easier if you really enjoy it. And for me, JavaScript has never been enjoyable. So it always seems like work when I'm working with that language. Whereas with something like Python, it is enjoyable. So I tend to be better at it. There's some sort of correlation there. But I know to keep myself relevant, to keep my skills up to snuff for what I'm doing for my business and other things, that I need to keep current with some JavaScript stuff. I need to get better at JavaScript. So one of those things I'm learning right now is refactoring in a maintainable way, improving the design of existing code using this book, or with the help of this book. That's been a big focus of mine for the past couple weeks. What else? Design patterns are always something that intrigue me. The Gang of Four book is something. Now that's another example. I don't have that book here, but that is a classic book, and it's not for the weak of heart. Like, it is very intense. It's a classic. That's one that I've been trying to get back into. I bought that I think 2 years ago. I got that one. Also Clean Code. That's another great book I don't have on me. But that's a really good one. That's by Robert Martin. This is Martin Fowler. I always get their names confused, but Martin Fowler. And then the other king is Robert Martin. But that's a really good one. And design patterns, OOP design. I love object-oriented programming, so that is something I really enjoy. I love UML. That's a fun fact about me. I just love the graphs, and not graphs, but I just love UML. So it's kind of a grab bag, but recently it's been getting better with more intense JavaScript things, I guess you could say. Solid Snake says, but what can you do with so advanced JavaScript level for a web dev though? I don't get it. There's a limit for web dev, I guess. No. Well, it depends on what, context is everything. So for example, if you're a newer developer and you're new at this business doing web development, having an advanced knowledge of refactoring is probably not going to be as helpful as knowing the basics. If your task at your job is to refactor JavaScript so that ES5 is a thing of the past, and now you're refactoring it so that ES6, yes, you are the ES6 person, then your job is to learn ES6. So it can be kind of self-destructive to learn all of these things. Going back to what we were talking about earlier, just like adding skills and not really applying them, the context is everything. So the reason I'm learning refactoring, the reason I'm using this book to build on my knowledge is because one of my tasks as a business owner, one of my things is looking over other people's code. And I need to know from a higher level, is this code up to my standard? Because when there's money involved, it's a whole different ballgame, and there's a whole different set of rules. And so from my perspective, I'm learning things that will help me in my business. And I'm prioritizing knowledge that is going to have a high return on my investment. And what I mean by that is every time I'm going like this, or I'm going like this, writing out checks or whatever, and someone provides me with something, I need to have a higher level knowledge of what I'm looking at, not just like, oh yeah, okay, so this thing functions, this thing looks good. Like, I need to know it from a higher level, because if something's not up to standard, there's no one in front, there's not like a grand person up top in my business hierarchy who's saying, no, RTC, this is completely, but there's no one doing that. I'm the person who's reviewing these things. So in that context, I need to know X, Y, and Z. And so that's how I prioritize my knowledge. Sometimes I just get into rabbit holes and learn things because they're interesting. Like, I find, like, honestly, like, my true calling is probably a DBA. Like, I'm really good with databases. And it sucks because most people aren't interested in them. But that's really what I'm good at. Especially SQL stuff. Holy smokes. Like, that's what I excel at. It comes naturally to me. I could crank out queries all day long and not even think about it. But that's something that just I can't prioritize right now. Even though I am decent at it, it's not what's going to get me a return on my investment with my business. So that's how I determine these things. And one of the benefits of working for somebody else is that they tell you, okay, this is what I need you to do, this, and that. And you can just use your brain to figure out what you need to learn or do better, instead of having to, strategize for weeks on what you actually need to learn. Like, someone's telling you what they need. So that's a big benefit. Paradoodly, $5 super chat. Chiquito is here. What? He is. Chiquito says, hey, is JavaScript really that difficult? And it's Kombucha Friday? Heck yes, Chiquito. I was wondering where you were. Yes, it's Kombucha Friday, all right. And I'm slamming this thing. Yum. Chiquito, I'm so glad you're back online. Chiquito was having some compy problems. I'm glad he's back online. Orlando, what's up? What's the best city in the US to work as a JavaScript developer? I mean, I need some more information on that. That's a tough question to answer. Are you talking in terms of like job availability, of starting salary, of quality of companies? Ooh, I got a good question here from Simone Brown. This is the last question I'm going to take before we wrap it up here. Hey, what do you think of first make it work, second make it right? Absolutely. That's a no-brainer for me. I endorse that statement all day. It's something we talk about in UX UI for web developers. One of my courses coming up on RealToughCandy.io. This is something that a lot of developers struggle with, myself included, is that we tend to be perfectionists, and we want things to be pixel perfect. And when we're busy trying to perfectly align a button, we've spent 3 hours trying to get this button pixel perfect. We're past the deadline, a client's ticked, and we have no product. Get it out, push it out, get the prototype going, get some sort of working demo, and then you can worry about the specifics. I see it a lot too, where just people are really man, I'm not trying to make this a gripe session, but this is something that I think is a problem, that especially because so much of what we do as beginning and intermediate and even advanced web developers is done um, in a group one way or another. We're showing our projects to people, we're interacting with other developers, getting feedback and stuff. There's always someone smarter than you who makes a snide remark, whether they mean it or not. And it can be really discouraging. Like, I don't really have a good, I don't want to blow up anyone's spot, so I'm not going to give any examples, but I think you all know what I mean. So they'll say something like, oh, well, that's the design. Like a 2-year-old can do that. Or you'll have someone who doesn't know about tech or doesn't know about your process. And they'll say a rude remark like, that took you 3 days. Like, yes, it took me 3 days. You don't understand what I'm doing here. Let me explain. So sometimes you just got to explain your process to people who have no idea. And so these ignorant comments can get to you. So we focus on making things perfect before we show them to other people, because we don't want that negative feedback. Well, what about this, and this? Well, if you make it perfect, they're not going to critique you, right? So I think that's where a lot of developers do get hung up, where they do want to share, they want to they want feedback, but they're also sometimes hesitant to share the projects and share the creations because they're not pixel perfect. And that is, it's unhealthy. So that's one thing we do talk about, and go through some techniques on how to, present a project, keep it in your deadline while making it look pretty, but not focusing so much on getting that button just, pixel perfect. It is a big problem that I see. I'm continuing to see it in 2020. I've been seeing it the past couple of years. Developers, listen, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. We had some great super chats. We had so many. Ben Riley with the multiple super chat drops. We have a new channel member, Dr. Candace with the super chat. Ben here again, Paradoodly with the multiple supers. Thanks. Paradoodly is an amazing mod. Thanks, Paradoodly, for keeping the chat civilized throughout this robust chat today. Who else? Lowland Joe, welcome to Java Suite. Welcome to the YouTube channel membership program. Who else? Shout out to both Danielles, Danielle and Danielle B. Now that I know I have two of you, I will do my best to address you. I'm not sure which one's Danielle 1 and Danielle 2. Maybe I'll just say Danielle Bloom and Danielle. Let's see who else. And everyone else, I know I'm missing some. I think Donovan came with a super chat too. I have so many messages here. I can't even, let me see here. Hold on one sec. Can you just hold on just 1 minute? Where is, okay. Ben Riley, Lowland Joe, Paradoodly, Dr. Candace, Donovan, William Claybrook, thank you all so much. And thank you all for tuning in today. We talked about why JavaScript is so tough. We went through a lot of different things, from syntax to concepts to primitive data types to the this keyword to the concept of programming versus HTML and CSS to JavaScript culture, if you will. Showed you some books, talked about leveling up. We talked about a lot of stuff today. So I hope you enjoyed this chat. If you did, please hit the thumbs up. Monday, August 24th, RealToughCandy.io is dropping, and we are going to come with a big kaboom. Hopefully not explode anything on the website. Just to give you the rundown, our 5 courses plus a lot of extras. We have Freelance Newbie, How to Get a Job in Web Development, Designs and Deadlines, UX UI for web developers, Portfolio Surgery, and Professional Communication for junior developers. These courses are only interested in the practical, actionable application of education. We're getting you to the next level so that you can level up. Again, it's like double leveling up. Got to level up, land a job, and get a raise. That's it. So really excited to share that with you. And thank you for everyone's support with that. We are going to just give you the materials and the education and the resources and the support you need to get yourself to where you need to go. I'm RTC. These are always awkward endings because I'm on Zoom and I have fish floating around, fake fish floating around in back of me. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be on the Discord this weekend. I hope to see you there too. Always a fun time. We have like 1,000 members there. It's a really fun, diverse community with like just a ton of people from everywhere. So many different people with some great insights. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video.